Hello friends and welcome to My Hobby Home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are finishing our Wilma Pouch. I have already gone ahead and done the quilting on this because this is going to be a personalized thing. The quilting is going to be however you want it. I will show you how I quilted. It's kind of my go-to. I do a 1/4 inch on each side of the seams. I stop when I get to the yellow fabric and then I go sideways as well. So I did that on both the front and the back panel. So guys, let me just kind of give you an intro of what's happening. I will have all three. This is kind of part 3, but part 3 is going to be the whole bag being made. So if you don't want to watch the first 2 parts because that's been the past 2 days and you just want to watch the third part, if you look just right here above my machine, I will put the timestamp of where you can roll forward to and watch. So, but let me tell you what I've already done so you can get there if you're making the bag too. I've already quilted and trimmed it down to size. And then our 2 little lining squares that we have, I've already folded them in half and pressed and then folded the top and bottom piece in half, made tabs out of it. Okay, friends, I have all of my fabrics cut. I have my strips, my squares. I have my 18 mini charms here. I have my lining. And I have some little squares here. Not real sure what I have to do with these yet. But I also have Fusible grid. I will be doing 2 by 3 panels for this bag. So what I'm going to do, and I'll just kind of show you real quick what we do. This is Fusible grid. The rough side goes to the top. And it's going to take 3 of them to make a bag. So I'm going to lay all 3 of them out here. I'm going to put 1 stack of my mini charms down. So instead of sewing everything and then, this is just an added step. You know, you don't have to do this if you don't want the added step. But I just continue to put a charm, a mini charm on a square until all of the squares are filled. And what I will do once I get it filled, I will press them all down and they will adhere, and I will show those to you. But here you will see I have my fabrics laid on my square. So what I'm going to do now is lay this over on my pressing mat. I will get a parchment paper and lay over the top of it. So when I press, these pieces of the Fusible grid that are showing will not stick to my iron. Okay, friends, so now we have all of our panels pressed. Now what this means is now we have to sew them. I like the Fusible grid because it does help me keep that 1/4 inch and it keeps it nice and pretty. So I am going to just fold that on the line. And going to sew all of these at that 1/4 inch on all of the grid lines. Now I'm going to do them one at a time. But I really like it when I do something with the Fusible grid, which you guys know we use this on bags of love as well. So this is the first one that we have done, and we will do 6 of these. Okay, and this is our first little panel. You know, aren't those colors just absolutely beautiful? We will press these out before we go to our next step. So we've got our second little panel done here. Now I have sewn everything on the fusible grid. But right now we've got our 6 separate 2x3 panels is what we're calling them. We've got these done. We will need to press those out. And tomorrow what we will be doing on, let me just show you here. Like this bottom corner here, we're going to kind of like snowball it. We will put a diagonal on it, and we'll put another fabric, and we'll do like a half square triangle on that. And we are going to work on making our points at the bottom of our bag. So what I'm doing though, I'm going ahead, it shows putting our little square on the bottom right, and we will then trim it, but I'm going to go on and do this for all of mine. Okay, so I've got my first 3. Now this is where I have to pay attention, because I do have the center seams pressed opposite directions, so they will nest. I did get the question in the comment from the video on Tuesday if I was going to trim out the edges or the seams. I am not. For the fusible grid, I don't normally. I've tried it one time, and the whole idea for me, for the fusible grid, is to make that all quicker and easier. And I've added one step by putting it on the fusible grid. I'm not going to add another step, because that one step actually saves me time from having to worry about those seams. So I won't trim out the seams. I won't kind of cut them open. And I've done bags like this before, and really, guys, there's no difference to me. I do like the grid because it is an interfacing. It does add a little more stiffness to the bag. Okay, so now we have all 6. So I have to make sure when I take them apart that I lay them back correctly. So now that I have both sets separated, I need to trim this off at 1/4 of an inch. I will need to press it. I have to make sure I keep them in order, because that could affect how it goes together. So I am just going to trim at that 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to flip it over. So I am going to press these and be right back. These are now pressed. So now what we will do is start and put the last piece here. Now we will make sure it makes a complete V, and we will do the same thing. We will trim and press as well on this. Now, friends, this is from the Common Threads Sewing Room quilted subscription, or quilt subscription. I think I'd already mentioned that I'm really pleased with this subscription. I feel like for what I pay, it's perfect. I don't have to get all the extras, just a monthly little project is really nice. I've got both sides done. I'm going to press them, and then we're going to come back and assemble these panels together. These are all done, so now we are going to be assembling them together. Now, even though I have that interfacing and they're folded and all that, and I know they're nesting, I'm going to go on and pin them so they don't shift. And I'm only going to do one side at a time, so I will go on and assemble the other side as well. Okay, so we have our first two. Okay, so this is our first panel. I'm going to just get it over here and get it ready to press, and we'll get started on our second one. Okay, the first two panels of that is put together. Now let's see about our next panel here. Okay, so now I have both sets of panels. So I am going to press and be right back. Okay, friends, we now have both of our panels done. So what we are going to do, we have our strips right here that we are going to attach to the bottom. I am going to pin these on each end and then pin in the middles somewhere because all my panels, when using that interfacing, and part of it's just fabric, part of it is interfacing, it feels like some of it might have stretched a little bit and it's not quite even. Okay, so now we're going to put the bottom on this panel. We're just about at quilting, and I believe the quilting will probably be a part 3. We're just going to, like I said, we're just taking our time making this bag. We are not rushing. Okay, now I am going to take this one off just so I can see how it all caught back here on the back. It does look like it caught nicely. I will press that out as soon as I get the second one done. So I'm going to press this and we will be right back. So here we have our two panels right here. And our next step is to quilt and shape the bag. And we still have our lining here. So our next step is we need to trim notches in the lining and in the bag. So this is going to be on the bottom. And y'all see I have my camera up just a little bit. That is because this is a paid for pattern and I cannot give out measurements or anything like that. So just to be on the safe side, I just go ahead and keep it where it's off screen, because I am sitting right here on my cutting mat that does have, measurements on it. Okay, so now we have both linings with our corners clipped out and both of our panels, the front and back of our bag. So let's see what our next step is. I think it is the zipper. And guys, I didn't understand the zipper, but I'm just going to try to do it the best I can, and we'll see if we can't figure it out. So we have taken our lining squares and we've folded them in half and then folded those inside and pressed them. What we are to do, this is making 2 zipper tabs. The first thing it is telling us is we need to trim away the excess zipper tape past the zipper stop. But it says we need to place the end of the zipper inside of one of the tabs, top stitch it in place. Now to top stitch it, I am going to set it at 1/8 of an inch. Oh, it feels like that is putting that metal right under my needle. We may have to find another way to sew this. I mean, it is going through, but not very easily. Well, I have never seen this technique done, guys. I've never put a tab on the end of a zipper. So that's the first for me. So now I'm going to kind of trim up my threads. It don't look right. It don't look straight. It probably isn't. But we're just going to go with the instructions and see what we can do here. Okay, so now I have to mark my zipper. Sorry about that, guys. I had a little coughing spell there. I really haven't coughed all day. But I am to be marking my zipper. It says cut the zipper tape on that mark. So when I do that, this is my zipper tape. I marked it where it's supposed to be marked. I pull my zipper down, and now I have to cut the tape at that mark. I have my pattern right here in front of me so I can read it. And it says, enclose the trim zipper tape in the remaining zipper tab. This is hard to do, guys. It's hard to get them together and get them in there. So I'm going to put it on that 1/8 of an inch again. Make sure I have those in there good. And going over those really slow. Okay, so now I have the zipper tape there. Now it does come there, so I'm going to trim off these threads. Guys, this is a new something for me. I've never done this. I've never made this bag either, so. And friends, I want to tell y'all, thank you so much for all the emails and messages I've gotten. I am getting better. I'm still, having the stuff go on, which is okay. I'm getting better, but I need to move on from it. I'm supposed to be going back to work on Monday, and I'm ready to go, but it's, today I thought, I can go to work after I go to the doctor, and then I was like, no, because I'm having the coughing spells still really bad, but they're fewer between now, further time from one to the next. So I have my zipper. So now we're going to put the zipper right sides together along the top edge of one exterior panel. This is an exterior panel. It says use a zipper foot. Let me grab my zipper foot. Okay, the zipper foot I'm using is the 4D. And what I need to do is line this up. It says we're sewing through all 3 layers. Okay, well the first thing I am going to do is trim these down. That's probably not what I should do, but that's what I'm doing, because I'm not supposed to have all that extra hanging there. So first thing I'm going to do is pin my zipper on here, because I do have to make sure there's about the same distance on each end. That's a given. We don't want our zipper to be off kilter here. And we're going to be putting these right sides together. So I will pin all the way down. And just to make sure, I'm going to put a lot of pins in here. Now I am not removing the pins that are in the zipper already. I'm leaving those there so I know where the end of my zippers are at. But I will pin on both ends of it. So now we have the first side, and I'm pretty certain and what this is doing, this foot is keeping right next to that zipper there. And I'm making sure it is, so it looks like it may be just a little more than a quarter of an, well, definitely a little more than a quarter of an inch. Now I have my head to my zipper right here. I'm going to try to move that zipper head out of the way. Move it down a little more. There we go. Got it out of our way there. Okay, so now we have this first piece here. I actually saw some bags being done like this. So I saw a bag being done like this. So now this is what we have. We have our front piece. We have our zipper. And we have our lining. What I need to do now is to press. I think it said press this away from the zipper and top stitch. So let me get this pressed, and when we come back, we will put a top stitch along right here to hold everything in place. Okay, friends, we have the zipper like that. So now what we are going to do is top stitch that. And to top stitch it, I am just putting that foot, the zipper foot, I'm running that along the edge. Now this is pretty thick, so you may have to help it out there. And like I said, I'm just running it along the edge of that zipper foot. And what this is doing is making sure we catch that to make it hold it all down together. And once I get to the end, I will do a couple back stitches there. Now what we're going to do is repeat this with the other side. So we're going face down. I have to make sure my materials are down there. These are right sides together. I'm going on and pinning the zipper tabs that I have here before I put the lining on. And I'm making sure that my lining, my front and back piece are even, because you don't want to have a lopsided bag. And now we're putting the lining on, right sides together. Looks like it got pulled a little bit there. I needed to readjust that and get that in here better. I was wondering why that wasn't really working out over here. And make sure when you put your lining, you're putting your cutouts on the bottom, because that's going to make the bottom of your bag. And when we pin here, we're making sure we're lining everything up, making sure we have that edge of that zipper tape to the edge of the liner and the edge of the exterior part of the bag. And here we go. We're going to get this down. Let me get that zipper pull down to the bottom. So when we get down to the bottom, I can't do that because I've got it pinned. But when I get to it, I will make sure to get it out of the way there. See how much I can zip. Okay, I can zip it to the next one, and that'll be fine because once I get to that one, I can zip it back to the other end. Okay, so now to zip it back to the other end. Because what I'm making sure I'm doing is staying right next to that zipper with the edge of that foot. And you just have to feel it. The foot will ride that edge if you just let it ride. Okay, we're going to put a few back stitches in there. So now we need to press this as well the same way, and I'll do that, and I will be right back, and we'll be looking at our bag. Okay, friends, so here we have our bag top. We are going to go in here and do a top stitch on there to tack down that. With those thick layers, sometimes it just doesn't want to grab it. But once it has it, it seems to do okay. When we get to the end, we're going to put a few back stitches in there. With right sides together and zipper half open, lay the pouch flat and align so the exterior pieces are right sides together and the lining pieces are right sides together. This is exactly how that lady did it that I just watched. This is pretty interesting. Join the front and back of the pouch pieces with a 1/4 inch seam. So that means I'm going to be changing out my foot back to my 37D from my 4D. So I just change the foot out. Make sure I'm on my, there we go, I'm on my peg. I have to come up here on my system and change my foot to the 37D. And I have to make sure the placement of my needle, it went right back where it needed to be. I am going to pin these together. It tells me of the lining, and this is exactly how she did hers. The lining it sits to leave about a 3-inch hole. So what we'll do is we'll turn the bag inside out through this hole right here. Now, I don't recall. What I'll do is I'll just sew off the ends of the lining. Now, you don't have to do all the pinning if you don't want to. I do it because it just helps me make sure everything goes better. Now, am I going to pin all the way around on this? Nah. This is pretty thick, and I can tell if it's together or not. So where I'm going to start here is where I am going to be turning. Just cutting that thread and then starting back up around that corner. And I'm making sure we don't have anything else. I don't think we had any tabs to put on it. I knew something wasn't working right. Got to put that dual control under there. Okay, now I'm getting to a pin here. You see where it's lagging right there? I'm going to have to help it by raising my foot up just a little bit. I may have to help by pulling a little bit. I don't know why. I think my foot on the Bernina, if I press it a certain way, it brings that needle up. I don't need it to do that, but it does it. But we are going to sew this one so that just lets you know there's more than one way to do this. Which I have seen here recently. There's more than one way to do linings and bags as well. I'm going to make sure we're lined up good here. Now we're coming up to where these seams come together right here. Now where the tabs are, it says you're not going to sew over the tabs. They're going to be pretty close, but you're not going to be sewing over them. Just need to make sure that we're lined up here. Okay, and I'm going to do a couple back stitches here because we don't want that to come apart. So here is where we are going to sew our corners here. I'm just going to make one press one way and the other press the other way. And I am going to pin it because this isn't going to want to work right for me probably. And now we will do the same thing to the exterior part of the bag. And we're going to make it flip the same way. I'm checking to see how it is on the other side. We're nesting. Now remember we had the zipper halfway unzipped. This is why, because we would not be able to turn it inside out if we weren't unzipped. And it would be kind of hard pressed to unzip it at this point if it wasn't already unzipped. But we're getting these corners done real quick. Okay, friends, so now it is time to turn our bag inside out. And I'm going to, first we have to find our zipper where we're unzipped here. I may have to try to unzip it a little bit more because there's no unzipping it anymore. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just getting 2 fingers in here, pulling it through. Just have to do a little bit at a time. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is unzip the bag and press out our corners so we can see what our bag looks like. Okay, friends, this is our bag. That works perfect. Look at that. And our seams down here did really well. Let me show you the inside of this bag. Oh, we do still have to sew this up. I forgot about that, guys. So what we're going to do is just press this. I mean, it automatically wants to go the way it wants to go. But I'm going to press it and then just put a little top stitch in it. So we are going to do a really thin top stitch, about 1/8 of an inch there. I'm making sure I get the complete hole stitched up. Okay, so we've made sure it's caught everywhere. We're trimming out the threads. We're putting that lining back in there. We're making sure our corners here match up good. So friends, that's the lining there. So here is our Wilma pouch. So friends, thank you so much for joining me. I've got all 3 of the parts of this in this one video. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope if you didn't want to see the first 2 parts, I hope you caught the timestamp to jump just to the 3rd part. So friends, before you head out, give me a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do. Click on that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing that we're doing here on the channel. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, friends.